This is Will Montgomery, former Washington Redskins center.
Yo, what's good, folks? This is Trey Johnson, the headbanger, yo, and you're listening to Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted. Word.
What's going on, Rally? How you doing, man?
Ted, it's Wednesday, which means that we've got another week to do the right thing and hopefully get it right on Sunday. Let's do this.
Hey, it's Bounce Back Wednesday, man. And a hump day. We got a chance to completely forget about what the hell just happened this past week against New York. And curious, did you get a chance to get some of that new Don't Sleep energy from my boy Mike over there, the little shots before your trip up to New York?
I did, and I got to tell you, it works like a charm. You have no clue. Now, I will say that it tastes a little different than what I expected. I expected more of a fruity-ish flavor, but it was, hey, once you took it, it was straight to the head, and within, I'd say, 15 minutes, if you will, hey, man, there was no sleeping. I was up.
Man, I definitely could have used one of those. I didn't get a chance to meet up with him, and I know I set you up on an email so you guys should try and collab before you bounce out of town, because I got back from Seattle Monday at 6:30, went straight to listen to some band called Depeche Mode with the wife.
Yeah, right.
Dude, I heard 2 hours. I knew one song. So
wow. Okay.
Shame on me for listening just too much Yo MTV Raps as a kid, I guess. But, you know, it was a good time. I was tired, man. And my problem was I didn't have any Don't Sleeps just sitting in the car waiting to go. I definitely could have used one of those energy shots. And then last night I went to the Caps game and they were losing 4-1. And midway through, I'm like, damn, I could go home and go to sleep right now, or I could have me a Don't Sleep and actually stay up and then stay out and watch the Phillies lose, hopefully game 7. And I went home and ended up watching the Phillies lose on my couch. So it was still a win-win. I just definitely could have used one of those Don't Sleeps, considering that was a rough 48 hours for me.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about the shot is you can put it in your carry-on, you can put it in your bag at going to a stadium or an event, and security won't bother you because it's just a little shot, but it's enough that if you're drowsy, it will wake you up. And that's what I needed, man. And I'll be taking one of those on the plane with me when I head up to New England in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I might need one for Sunday, man. They're talking about 80 degrees. So coach and the team, they didn't practice with pads on today. And he's basically talking about keeping the guys fresh and hydrated and blah, 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 because it's supposed to be 80 degrees on Sunday. And I'm frying, I think, maybe 80 pounds of some eagle wings out there. So I'm definitely going to need some Don't Sleep for me this weekend at the tailgate to try and keep me moving, especially going into that game. So
you're going to need water, bro. You're going to need water, ice cold water to keep you going, and maybe some type of aid of some sort. I'm not going to mention, but we know the different aids that are out there if you need that. But
yeah, and probably a couple of cold beers, you know, to help out. But I know it's kind of productive. But
yeah.
The team's going to need some help, too, this weekend. We got Philly coming to town. We all know, you know, as you guys listen to this podcast, you follow this team, obviously. We all know how we did up there. Now, they're coming down here. They're 6-1. When we played them, they were undefeated. They lost to the Jets, a Zach Wilson Jets. So I was kind of surprised to, you know, watch that game. I've kind of gone through the replay. It was a damn close game that came down to the very end of it, but they kind of showed us the blueprint. And Jalen had 3 interceptions that game, and he's had a couple of picks, and he's got a banged up leg right now. So it's not a impossible task to think that we can take these boys down. But last week, Philly was 3rd on the NFL Power Rankings, and they got that dub. Where do you think they are now?
Probably 2. Yeah, I'd say 2.
Are you going to stick with that one?
Well, since you said it that way, I'll say 1.
No, they're 2. You got it right the first time.
Oh, see, don't try to fool me, man. If I got it, say I got it. You know what I mean? Come on,
I got
man.
you. You got it.
You made me think I didn't get it.
Hey, it works out. It works out. It says here the Eagles were down both starting safeties and their slot corner, and they still held Miami to a season low 244 yards and 10 offensive points. Tua was under pressure all game, and even taking into account his ability to get the ball out quickly, it seemed to have a cumulative effect. This is where defensive coordinator Sean Desai might be able to separate himself from his predecessor. I loved how Sean would not let Miami off the hook, providing constant pressure. And while the offense might not quite be operating at the same level as it was last season, the Jalen Hurts A.J. Brown connection has arguably never been more potent. They've now combined for 701 yards over Brown's past 5 games. The Eagles also won every big fourth down on Sunday. That's my kind of team. And now Philly's getting Kevin Byrd. Watch out, folks. Or Kevin Byard, whoever the hell that guy is.
Safety, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing they made a move there. But the Eagles are banged up. They're coming here into our neck of the woods. The game is sold out. And I hate to say it, I think it's sold out because it's all the Eagles fans coming down from Philly. Just being realistic. It was sold out after we lost to I want to say the Bears. They announced it. Or it might have been right after that. But they announced a sellout after one of our losses. And fans typically don't buy tickets after your team gets its ass whooped on Thursday Night Football. So usually the opposing team is the one that's gobbling all those things up.
Oh, yeah. Normally what happens is ticket prices go down, opposing fans shop them right on up. And I don't blame them. I'd be doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was hoping was going to happen when I went down to Atlanta. They take a big old L, and next thing you know, those prices drop. But then I got worried that Heineke was going to get put in, and then all the Heineke hive were going to want to go down there and then skyrocket those prices back up. But I'm a little, I don't want to say worried. We've kind of been used to the Philly fans flooding our stadium and just kind of taking over. I'm just not looking forward to it as much as I would have been because I know what the narrative is going to be. Philly's coming down here. I guess the only saving grace is their baseball team is done for the year. So I don't got to hear about Bryce Harper and Trey Turner and all of the old Washington Nationals players going to the World Series again. But, man, it would be nice if we just got a chance to shut those Bamas up on Sunday and these Commanders did what we hope they can do and send all those Philly fans crying back up 95, realizing their team ain't as good as they thought they were. And, yes, Rocky isn't real.
Yeah, well, us people who live down here know that Rocky isn't real, but for them up there, they believe that he's a glorious figure. But I got to tell you, it would be nice to give them that feeling that we had coming back from Philadelphia a couple weeks ago, albeit it wasn't necessarily, we knew we took an L, but it didn't feel like an L. But I'm hoping that we reverse things and just make their L feel like an L. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I hear you. I mean, do you think it's an advantage that we just played them, a month and some change ago?
Definitely. I think it's an advantage. I think that we know their tendencies. I mean, we just saw them on the national stage against Miami, basically. And here it is. All we need to do is just put our pieces of the puzzle together. We can't worry about them. We know what they're going to do. But do they know what we're going to do? And I'm hoping that a great week from EB, Coach Rivera, Sam, we can pull this thing out.
I'm hoping so too. And I agree with you. I do feel that it's an advantage because how much could they potentially change between the last time you played them and this time? And you've got some film on them on what they were doing, and you don't have as many games in between to have to watch. But this is actually what Rivera had to say about playing them just a little bit ago.
Ron, the fact that you guys just saw the Eagles about a month ago, is there, I don't want to say an advantage, but the familiarity with them that you just played them, how do you approach that?
Well, I mean, there really is no advantage just because they have, for them it's the same thing. They just played us. But I think the thing that, we look at more than anything else is what have they done differently in those last few games compared to what it was like when we did play them. And that's what we're trying to, see. Now we're looking, very hard at those things, looking at, the numbers. We're looking at the scouting reports and obviously, paying a lot of attention to stuff that we see on tape.
So between then and now, I mean, Jalen has looked human. He hasn't looked like the Jalen Hurts that we're kind of used to seeing. And obviously their offense isn't clicking on all cylinders right now, but they're still winning games, and more so because of how the defense is playing. And I've got their defense in fantasy, so I appreciate how they've been helping me out. I kind of wish that they would suck and it make me feel a little less dirty when I win on the week. But I don't agree with Coach. I feel that it is a little bit of a help. And yeah, they are also going to get a chance to see us. But I guess the good news is we've been consistently inconsistent. So, which Commanders team are they going to prep for? The one that fought them tooth and nail, or the one that didn't do too well in the first half against the Giants? Who knows what to expect kind of from that standpoint?
Well, I think that the Dolphins, I use this term regularly, I think they tenderize them, the way that Buffalo tenderized us for Chicago. Or I'm sorry, that the Eagles tenderized us for Chicago. A lot of people, I really don't think that they take it full advantage of the fact that, hey, it was a hard-fought game. And anytime you have a hard-fought game and you got to come in that next week, it's difficult. So I think that's going to be to our advantage. Not saying that our guys didn't play a hard-fought game last week, but I just feel as though we have a little bit more advantage. And now, more than ever, our backs are up against the corner. And so because of that, we're going to come out fighting harder, I believe, than had we beat last week's opponents.
Yeah, the teams that we lost to, the worst losses, the Bears, they were desperate. They hadn't won in almost a year. The Giants were desperate. And really right now, we are desperate.
Yeah.
We're 3-4. We're coming into a tough part of the schedule, and we'll be 0-3 in the division if we drop this game. It's pretty tough to make the playoffs if you're that far down in your division. And, I'm trying to be realistic, going back and forth with some of our listeners and people on Twitter. I mean, I don't know if we're going to make it there, just looking at the schedule. But then again, later on down the road, who knows? When we play Miami, is Tua going to be there? I thought that Jets game on Christmas Eve was going to be somewhat impossible. But, that's when Aaron Rodgers was playing. He's obviously not right now, and I doubt he's going to be back by then considering what he came down with. Who knows if San Fran is going to be the juggernaut come, New Year's when we play them. So it's not insurmountable to think that we could potentially still turn this thing around, but they got to make some changes. And actually, Rivera talked about that today. And I was kind of surprised at some of the changes he's talking about making. This is actually what Coach said.
I want to hear this.
We're looking at a lot of things right now and things that we want to do as far as going forward with the offensive line.
Anything you can share?
No, just like there's a lot of things that we're talking about and discussing and looking at.
So they're looking at making offensive line changes. And I'm kind of shocked to hear Rivera say that. Now, Sadiq Charles did not practice. He's got a strained calf, and I believe he went to get an MRI. Sam Cosme today on the injury report was listed as limited. But those two guys aren't the ones I'm concerned about and want taken out. I think Sadiq Charles has been our most consistent offensive lineman this entire time. But if we go back and look at last week's PFF grades, guess who had the worst pass block grade of the bunch?
Wiley.
Believe it or not, it wasn't Wiley. It was Nick Gates, right up the middle, your center. He got a 26.1 in his pass blocking. And Sam was getting pressure right up that middle. And sometimes it wasn't from blitzers. It was just from regular guys coming up the middle that Gates was having an issue with. And we do have another center on our roster that might be able to help out. And this is actually what Coach talked about potentially doing.
Since you know what you have in somebody like Tyler Larson, is there any consideration to using him more or moving to him at this point?
There is, as I said, Nikki, a lot of things that we're discussing and talking about and things that we feel can help us.
Now, I'm not saying they're going to bench Gates. because this is an admission from Rivera that they brought in a bum at center from free agency. But the fact that he even addressed Nikki's question, they're thinking about it, and it's a possibility. And I'm not saying that Larson is going to fix the problems we got going on, but right now, I'm not liking what I'm seeing from Nick, and he hasn't been doing the job.
Well, he's consistently inconsistent, and like a lot of the players are, but it goes back to what we talked about so many pods ago. I feel as though we have the pieces, but our pieces aren't being utilized properly. And because of that, we get this hodgepodge of things that are going on, and it hurts us. We've got a 53 man roster for a reason. And we've got to be able to continually make these pieces fit, or not force them to fit, but make them fit. And if you're looking at doing that, I have no problem with it whatsoever. I've always said that. I'm even to the point where I feel as though even with Sam, because I've gone back and I'm looking at a couple of the replays that when we played these teams, and at some point in time, if the quarterback isn't seeing something, then he needs to, and he's hampering the team. It might be time to make a change. I'm not saying bench the kid forever, but it may be time to make a change, because there are times when he is the reason why he's getting sacked.
Oh yeah,
he
definitely
is that reason, and so because of it, there was one time where I saw where obviously they were bringing pressure, but the slant was wide open. If he would have taken the 2-step drop, he was already in a shotgun, and he took almost a 4 to 5 step drop. Had he taken that 2-step drop and delivered on the slant, it was there. There are a lot of, now granted, once again, I always have to say this, I've never played quarterback. I've never even come close to it. But it just seems as though when I look at other teams come up with a hot route, they make it happen. So what is he not seeing, or is the protection not being called correctly, or something? There's a miss somewhere, and anytime that you continue to miss that way, the team's going to start looking down on you. They just are, and they're human. And as Jonathan Allen said, he hates it. He's sick of it. 7 years of it. So if Brissett can come in and do a little bit better, I'm all for whoever can do better. That's what I'm about right now, because we've still got 10 games to go. We still are in the thick of the season. And if Brissett can make that call a second faster or half a second faster and get the ball out, I'm for that. I really am.
I hear. And Linnell and Doc Walker were on for B. Mitch and Finley yesterday, and they were asking people that same question. And Doc has basically said, maybe put Brissett in at that point. For me, I'm looking at it differently.
Okay.
And Rivera is gone after this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
This coaching staff, for the most part, is most likely gone after this year. All of them, Bieniemy included.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, with that said, Rivera is a 500 head coach. Let's just go by averages. Everyone likes to talk analytics now. Well, that's just his track record. He has made the playoffs. He had 3 winning seasons, right? So realistically, did we think 2023 was going to be the year that the Commanders were going to make a deep run in the playoffs? Realistically, no. I didn't think that was going to be possible, considering we got a new offensive coordinator and we got a 5th-round draft pick starting a quarterback that's learning a brand new system. Could it happen? Yes, if the defense was good. That's where we all basically drew a line in the sand. If the defense can play like they did last year, then we got a chance of actually doing something. Problem is, the defense is playing worse than it did last year, and the offense is also worse than they were last year. So can they do something in 10 games? Yes. I'm not saying it's not possible, But being realistic, do I think we can actually make a playoff push in 10 games? No. And what does putting Jacoby Brissett in do for us? To me, Brissett was on a 1-year deal. That's why I'm happy about his deal, because when the new staff comes in here, then they can bring in whatever quarterback they want. But if Sam potentially is the quarterback of the future, then instead of having to draft a new quarterback, and if he shows this in the next 10 games, then they can actually maybe draft a lineman. I'm seeing this stat all over the place about the 2019 draft when we took Jamin Davis, and how we should, I don't think it was 19, it was maybe 20, regardless. Christian Darrisaw is one of the top offensive tackles in the NFL right now. And he got taken at 23 by the Vikings. Well, we took Jamin Davis at 19. Thank you, Ron Rivera. We needed offensive linemen, and he dismantled our offensive line, and he took a linebacker at a position that they don't feel is even the strength of a team anymore, because they've devalued linebacker. So I need to see personally if Sam is 100% it or not, because Jacoby, to me, doesn't help us any bit, because he's not fixing our defensive problems, and he's not really going to show us what we need to see on offense from that standpoint, because we know what Jacoby is. He's a journeyman quarterback. He's not going to be the future here. We've only got 8 games with Sam. I don't know 100% if he is or is not it, and I think we just need a little bit more time. But for the fans that feel the way you do, I can't fault you, because losing sucks. This hurts, and it's a pain in the ass every week, and it's embarrassing. But thinking of the long game plan, which we've all been playing for a long time now.
Too long.
Too long. But just being realistic about it, it's going to reset all over again once we get a new staff here.
It is.
So I'd rather reset 100% knowing that that kid just ain't it. Knowing that Sam just isn't what it's supposed to be. And guess what? It's a 5th round pick. Fine. I don't care. It's a 5th round pick. But what does Brissett do if he gives me 5 more wins? To me, that's nothing.
Okay. It's 5 more wins for the fans that have to pay their hard-earned money to come see an inferior product. It's 5 more wins to be able to hang your hat on something for the guys in the locker room. I mean, now, if you want them to come out and, it's a circular aspect of things. You want them to come out and say, okay, I mean, I know that they got pride, but they're human as well. And it goes back to the whole Heineke and Carson aspect of things. When Carson was in, body language was, the shoulders were slumped. I'm starting to see that with Sam. And I'm not saying that you need to just bench him altogether, but hey, give him a game. Let the kid reset, because obviously he's getting rocked.
Oh yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Shell shocked. I mean, he was seeing ghosts in that Giants game.
And because of that, you want to see what the kid has. Well, I mean, he's got a phobia at this point, I think. Not a phobia, but he's got a fear. I would have a fear. I took plenty of pictures, and I saw those linemen coming at him, and I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he did it. So what I'm saying is, and obviously at some point in time, you got to think about the other 52 men on the field. I know that he may not be there next year, or the coaches, the staff, everybody may not be there, but you've still got a fan base, and you still got a locker room that you need to keep together. And you know as well as I do that if that's out of the way, and you're going to get fired, if Rivera continues to lose, he's going to get fired anyway.
He's gone. He's not sticking around. I hear you.
Let somebody else get some of that. You paid him for a reason, Brissett, for a reason. I forgot what his total was that he's getting paid.
$7 million. Yeah, $7 million. It's journeyman quarterback money.
Hey, if he can get the ball out 2 seconds early to save himself, or a second and a half to save himself, then I think at that point in time, you do that to give the other guys, not the coaching staff, but the other guys, a sense that you're trying to do something. Because right now, heads are low, man. They just are.
They're low because we're getting our ass kicked. I think they're low because everybody realized that game plan last week against the Giants was garbage. That game plan was absolutely horrible. And then they had to wait to the second half to make adjustments. John Kine put this tweet out the other day. Washington used 7+ pass blockers on 14 dropback Sunday. They had used that number 16 times combined in the first 6 games. And part of this is you've got a first-time play caller in Eric Bieniemy and a 5th-round kid in Sam Howell and a porous offensive line with Nick Gates having less than a 30% pass block grade that are just getting rocked. And yes, will Jacoby help? Yeah, because he knows to get rid of the ball faster. And yes, this sucks. It's no fun following a team that you know is just going to get rocked on Sunday. Unfortunately, it's just part of being a Commanders fan. And I'm thinking long term that, hey, us getting to 8 and 9 doesn't really do us any good. Yeah, it's going to feel better. 5 more games and you and I will get our FanDuel bet. That'll definitely help out with some of the Bills. But realistically, I don't think we're there yet with the players because they know it's not all 100% on Sam. If this was like Carson Wentz last year, everyone knew Carson was crap and it was all on him. But Sam isn't 100% what's wrong with everything that's happening on Sunday. But this is actually what Ron had to say about committing to Sam long term.
Ron, along the lines of what you're saying about Sam, the importance of him and how that's a big focus, obviously, does that mean you're committed to playing him, starting him the rest of the season, barring the unforeseen?
Well, I will tell you this. I'm committed to him. Ben, we'll see how things go, Ben. But, I can't predict the future. And the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to focus in on one game at a time because the truth of the matter is that's the only thing that matters right now, and that's getting ready for Philadelphia. Once I get done with this conversation with all you guys, it'll be on to Philadelphia.
Ron talking about one game at a time. This is what I can see happening for Sam's ego. And to save that kid to a degree. He takes a hit. He's taken way too many. He takes a sack. Next thing you know, he pops up on an injury report. Is it a real one? We all know that they put fake injuries out there to try and stash guys on different rosters. But to maybe save Sam some pride, maybe he does sit a game because he's got a injury at that point. And maybe we do see Brissett. I do think we're going to see Jacoby before the year's out because Sam is just getting knocked around way too much. And it's just tough for any quarterback to take those kind of blows.
Yeah. I think the thing that bothers me the most that I heard this year was Coach Bieniemy say, hey, at some point in time, he's going to have to get rid of the ball. He'll just have to trial by error. I don't like that. As a kid, and we talked about this, as a kid, your parents tell you don't touch that because it's hot. And then you don't truly, as a kid, understand what hot means until you touch it. And then you say, hot daddy or hot mommy. The kid understands it. Well, he's still not getting the ball out. So is he not understanding? And you're going to just continue to keep him back there until he figures it out, till the light bulb comes on? In the meantime, the detriment of the team? Like I said, I'm not saying quit the kid. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, hey.
But there are fans calling for it. There are fans calling for quit the kid.
No, I'm not saying quit him. I'm saying, hey, give him a break.
I hear you.
It's no different than
Bench and Forbes.
Okay, there you go.
I get it. The thing is, fans that watch the game on TV are not seeing the entire picture. Guys aren't getting open. You had spacing issues that we talked about that Terry let the cat out the bag during a press conference, and you got pissed off at Terry for airing that dirty laundry, talking about how receivers aren't getting proper spacing. It's not just Sam learning a new offense. You've also got these receivers learning a new offense. It's guys not being where they're supposed to be on routes. Some guys aren't getting open. And there are times when they are open and Sam's not hitting them because he's not sure where the pressure is coming from. What drives me crazy every week is Sam saying they're not showing us anything we haven't seen before. Because to me, if I'm a defensive coordinator and I hear you your second year quarterback saying, oh, you haven't seen? Oh, you think you've seen this before? Well, guess what? I'm going to scheme this up. I'm going to scheme that up. And you're going to look lost, just like he did this past Sunday. And the NFLPower Rankings talking about the Eagles defensive coordinator now crafting up all these other blitzes. Guess what's going to happen this week? All this stuff that Sam probably hadn't seen before. And Bieniemy talks about it, how he's cutting the kid some slack, because if he's seeing it, he's probably seeing it for the first time. Well, not according to Sam in those press conferences, that they didn't surprise us. We knew what was coming. We just didn't execute. I'm sorry to say that's a bunch of crap. You didn't know what was coming. You had no idea what was coming. And next thing you know, you got punched in the mouth. And it's taken too long for them to adjust. But there are times where he's holding it. There are things called coverage sacks. And I know you are seeing them in your end zone view. It's just fans aren't seeing this on the TV coverage, and guys aren't there. I'd say your first 4 sacks this past week against the Giants, those weren't cover sacks. Those were offensive line issues where stunts were happening, guys coming up the middle, and your team just getting demolished right up front. And part of that maybe because you lost, Sadiq Charles. But looking at the grade, going to Stromberg when he came in, they gave him a 33. So your center got a 26. Your left guard got a 33. I mean, you're getting pass rush right up the middle. And guess what Tom Brady couldn't handle? The GOAT. Rushing
up middle.
Right up the middle.
Yeah.
On top of that, I got into an argument with some jackass in Atlanta about how tall Sam was. It's like, he's not the tallest quarterback out there. So you got these guys coming up the middle. Potentially, he's not seeing guys.
He's got to see it.
Yeah. It's a culmination of things that are starting to go bad. But to me, you can scheme for those. And they talked about it during the press conference today, rolling Sam out. And it limits your route tree and what your receivers can do. So you can't constantly do that, because then defenses can sit on those routes and just wait, because you're losing half the field. But when the Jets beat the Eagles, Wilson used his legs some more and bought him some time. And maybe they don't want to do that because Sam's already taking hits. But to me, I loved playing defense versus offense, because I was the one making the hit.
Delivering the blow.
Exactly. If Sam is the one running the ball and delivering the blow and not getting blindsided, it's a completely different story versus him just getting hit from behind. And this was a stat by our boys over at Ref the District. Let me pull this thing up.
That's one of the biggest things, man, is when you're a runner, you know what to look for. And it's almost like he forgets that the guy that went past him can't touch him. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he went past me. He's out of bounds, out of limits. No, he's coming back around for that second swipe. So you gotta be able to realize that and tuck that thing and run it, man.
You do. And the Commanders have had 455 offensive snaps in 2023. When we were tied, we had 80 snaps. 34% of those were run plays. 66% of those were pass plays. When we were tied, okay? When we were ahead, 94 snaps, 42% were run plays, 58% were pass plays. When we're winning the game, typically you want to eat up clock and just keep driving that ball. When we're behind, 281 snaps, 21% were run, 79 were pass. So I get that, but I just feel that we're not a balanced offense at all. So if I know that you guys are going to pass the ball for the most part, I'm going to pin my ears back if I'm a defensive line and come after you. And okay, every once in a while, I might run right past that running back, but odds are, considering just talking analytics again and numbers, all Eric Bieniemy likes to do is pass the damn ball. If you gave this offense some balance, maybe it wouldn't be so bad.
It goes back to what we said. They don't have an identity. And that's an issue. You have to develop an identity and then work on what you do best. And right now, we're still trying to figure out what we do best. 7 games into the season.
Yeah, and it's week 8. I don't know what our identity is because we're not a running team. We're not a passing team. You know, what are we? And this is actually what they asked Sam about potential consistency with this team.
When things offensively have been right, the Denver game, the Philly game, it's looked quite good. How close do you think the team is to being able to get there consistently?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really close. I think the fact that we've already shown we can get there says a lot. And I think we've shown what our potential is. We've shown the standard that we want to play at. It's just a matter of each and every week of going into the game and executing the plan, everyone doing their job. And I think the more we play, the more we'll continue to grow and get better. And obviously we'd like to play at our standard each and every week. And we know in this league it's not going to happen each and every week, but you definitely, you should never lose a game when the defense gives up 14 points. And I think that's the reality of it, and we just got to try to do our part and help our defense out. But there's definitely a standard, and I think we've shown that standard a few times this year, and that's definitely the standard that we chase every single time we step out on the field on Sundays.
I'm just dumbfounded that Eric Bieniemy, a former running back, just doesn't like to run the ball. He doesn't want to give Brian Robinson a chance, Chris Rodriguez a chance. And we've all watched B-Rob. The more carries he gets, the more he gets rolling. And I don't feel that he's getting the chance to really be utilized well. I just feel that he's just in such a pass-happy offense that we're doing our team a disservice. Same thing with the offensive line. Same thing with Sam at that point. And we're not getting a chance to keep defenses guessing. We just letting them say, hey, guess what? It's 2nd and 2. We're probably going to throw the ball because analytics say you think I'm going to pass, and we're outthinking things. And that's just, it's frustrating, man. It really is.
Well, when you don't have faith in guys to get that 1 yard or 2 yards, you have to figure something else out. I think that there's many ways that you can scheme up a play to get 2 yards, but that's me. Once again, it's just rally captain. And when you see other teams do it, you're like, why can't we do that? What's holding us back from being able to do that? And it's difficult to watch. So they obviously know something that we don't, or they see something that we don't, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. Maybe have some faith and really talk to these guys and say, we're going to run the ball this week, guys. I need you to be on your man. I need you to get down to it. Maybe that might help. And then, like you said, sprinkling that pass. But typically, though, Ted, our run game is meh too. Not to say that it can't get going, but it doesn't. When you need that run play, a lot of times it doesn't happen, man. It just doesn't happen. Almost like when we had who was that? Our kicker last year was Joey Sly, and we did not want to doggone try a field goal attempt. Do you remember that last year?
Oh, yeah.
Because we knew
remember.
that the kicking game was inept, and they tried everything else in their power to try to get the first down versus on 4th down instead of trying to kick a field goal. So that's where I feel we are, and we just gotta do what needs to be done and short things up the best way we possibly can, and show these guys that it can be done, because the fan base is clamoring for it. We are dying to see it, and the other teams are saying, we dare you to try it. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, they definitely do, because the thing is, we're running at a shotgun and we need 1 yard, right? We're running at a shotgun. We need 2 yards. It's 1st and goal. And we're running B-Rob out of shotgun with no lead blocker, no one there. And I get that the NFL has changed, but to a certain degree, that your front guys aren't getting that push up front, then bring in someone else. You're putting Logan Thomas in motion to be your lead blocker? No, I'm sorry. He's not blocking anybody. He's not scaring anybody. You got to give your guys a chance to actually do what they need to do and put them in better situations. When you're calling these run plays out of shotgun, when the team you're going up against is already pinning their ears back and coming after you, I don't feel that he's actually getting a fair shot. that B-Rob's actually really getting a chance. And he had 8 carries for 23 yards against the Giants. We were down by 2 scores, right? Mm-hmm. He had 10 carries for 31 yards against the Falcons in a win. 6 carries for 10 yards against the Bears. Okay, we got our ass kicked. It was 40-20. I get it. You got to throw the ball. That Eagles game, we were in it till the very end. 14 carries for 45 yards. You know, it's just, there's a lot of inconsistency with who he's putting inside there. And don't tell me that it's because Antonio Gibson's taking his carries. We're just not calling the plays in general. And that's where some of this frustration is. And this is actually Scott Abraham asking Ron about some of this fan frustration.
And kind of along those lines, you know, with the frustration theme, fans are frustrated as well. And, you know, some today are kind of questioning the vision and the plan of this team over these last 4 years with this loss from the Giants. I guess my question is, do you understand that perspective from the fans? And secondly, what makes you believe things will go differently over these next couple of months compared to some of the results you've had the last 4 years?
Well, I think the biggest thing, Scott, more than anything else, I think we have found a young quarterback that gives us an opportunity. You know, we were in that game yesterday who had every chance to win. And unfortunately, we didn't do it. And I understand our fans' frustration. Hell, I hear it too. Okay, and I respect them. We're trying to play the best football we can and at the same time grow a football team. You know, we're not going to go around cutting a bunch of people, trading for a whole bunch of people, trying to hire a whole bunch of people. We're trying to develop a young football team to be a very good football team for the future. And that's what we're going to continue to work on. We're going to continue to find ways to win football games, and we'll do the best we can. We'll show up, we'll work very hard, we'll do everything we can, and we'll continue to be committed to try and put a good product on the football field and give our fans something to cheer about. But we understand their frustration, believe me, because there's a lot of us that are frustrated here because we're working our butts off.
Do you believe Ron?
I believe he believes himself.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. And here's the thing. He's not lying. I do believe that they are working their butts off. We know we have a young quarterback. We know all those things that he said. The fan base is frustrated. The question is, what are you doing to change things? We understand everything that he said, but just because you have those things doesn't mean it has to stay that way. It just doesn't. We all want to be able to grow, but what comes with growing is, once again, changing things up a little bit, changing the pieces of the puzzle. And it's not a matter of them looking bad. Well, I drafted this guy and I don't want to. If he's getting beat like a drum, then put somebody else in. We've seen him do it. We keep harping on Forbes. He just happened to be the one who's there. But Forbes was out. Will he be back in this game? We don't know. But his playing time last week was limited. But he still played. So it can be done. I don't know. Hey, so-and-so, get in there and bring that other guy out. And yeah, that guy who you take out is going to be shocked and surprised that he's coming out. But guess what it may do? It may make him say, oh, damn, I got pulled out. That may make him upset to the point where he wants to get back in there and say, nah, man, you're not taking my job. And sometimes it takes that type of mix-up to get the ball rolling. Like I said, I'm not saying bench anybody. I'm just saying, hey, if you need be, pull him out. Put somebody else in and let them know that this guy's in now.
I agree with you, but I am saying bench somebody.
That'll make me upset.
I mean, Forbes got 5 snaps last week. Right, 5. That's it. He's your number 1 draft pick from this past draft.
Yeah.
So it's a problem. Quan Martin got hurt, and I think he came back in. He got 5 snaps last week. So that's an issue. Casey Toohill, we're talking 2 sacks. Toohill got 10 snaps last week. He had 2 sacks the week prior against the Falcons. Your guys are gassed. They're having a hard time stopping and getting through this just makeshift Giants offensive line. And Casey got 10 snaps. There is an issue with personnel on this team and playing time on this team. It's obvious that a bunch of your guys were just tired and they weren't getting home. And some other guys you have are fresh and you're not giving them reps. And Linnell was talking about it today on the show. It's almost like the inmates are running the asylum to a degree. Like the players don't want to come off the field. It kind of reminded me of Robert when he got hurt in that playoff game, when we all saw he shouldn't have been out there and he stayed out there. And is it because, you don't want to piss Chase off, so you let him stay out there? 61 snaps Chase got. Montez got 48. So there's obviously room in there for another defensive end to go in. Why did Casey, who had a hell of a game the week prior, only get so many reps? It's just things like that are what frustrate me, because we do have playmakers on this team. I just don't feel that they're getting a chance to actually make plays because they're not being given the opportunity for whatever reason. And now here comes the trade deadline. Everyone's talking about it. Do you, Rally Captain, want this regime to be responsible for any trades, considering how they've handled personnel so far?
So it's a two-sided question. And the first thing is, do I have the faith that they'll make the right call? At this point, I'm not sure I do, because the people who we have right now are the people that they have said are a number one guys. And those number one guys aren't making it happen. The flip side of that is, Ted, I've always told you, and the listeners, I've told you guys, I'm willing to try to roll the dice and put pieces in place. That's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to try to do what Philadelphia did and bring in somebody to help them. I'm willing to do what other teams are doing to try to do something to help, because that may be the spark that you need. I was listening to Linnell as well, and I heard him say that the best offseason acquisition that the Commanders have was Jamison Crowder.
Yeah. Sad as that is, yeah.
And that's terrible. That's terrible. So, like I said, it's two-sided. I will always try to roll the dice and see what I can get to make the team better, because that's just me. But then, like you said, who are you going to entrust to do that? So to get that player, it's difficult, man. What about you?
It is. And Nikki Javala put this tweet out here 5 hours ago. It says, one team has made a trade offer to the Commanders for defensive end Montez Sweat, but none so far have offered for defensive end Chase Young. Per source, unclear of the terms of the offer for Sweat. And Ron, the only way he keeps his job is if we make a playoff push. So that's also why I'm kind of shocked that they're not putting Jacoby in, because Jacoby potentially gives you a better chance to win. Now, he didn't get any reps with the ones. He got 1 day's worth of one drill's reps with the ones during training camp. During the actual season, we've talked about it before, your backup quarterback isn't getting reps with the ones. He's running scout team, he's doing other stuff. So it is shocking to me that Rivera, knowing he has to win to survive, he has to win for his future, has not put Jacoby in. If he were to go ahead.
I was going to say, it could be like Frank Sinatra and say, F it, I'm doing it my way. I'm going out in. I know I'm a lame duck coach. I'm going to go out the way I want to go out.
Do you think he really wants to go out with Sam, your legacy being the coach that broke the sack record by like 40 other sacks? I mean, I hear you. We've talked about this before. You cannot put logic to Ron Rivera's thinking. He does not coach logically, in my personal opinion. There is nothing about it. But for that being said, that's why I don't want them to potentially make any trades that could hurt the franchise more down the road. Because if he trades Montez for a 4th round pick, who's to say the new GM that comes in, the new coach that comes in, doesn't want to try and work something out with these guys? Doesn't want to try and work. I don't think we can keep both Chase and Tez. I think it's just way too much. They also have the same agent. So now you're negotiating for the same bag with the same agent at that point. But I don't think I trust these guys to make the right decision for what's best for us long term. And I hope that Josh Harris and the Hogs are getting some type of guidance from some outside GM source to basically say, hey, don't let more damage be done by this regime. But I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen. The only thing I am sure of is it's all going to change next year. I just hope that more damage isn't incurred to this fan base and to this franchise based upon who's still here. And
well, depending on what happens up to the bye, there may be a change after the bye.
There potentially could be a change after the bye. And you know, I was on record saying, hey, I'd like to see what Bieniemy can do, but right now he hasn't shown me that he can do what he needs to. Shockingly, we were 3-4 last year. Guess what? We're 3-4 again. Does this feel the same 3-4 to you? Because for me, this feels worse.
I agree. It feels definitely worse. We were making a move at this point with Heineke, and it seemed like there was more momentum. They wanted to play more. I'm not saying they don't want to play now. So if anybody is listening and they say, well, Rally Captain said they don't want to play, I'm not saying that, but it just feels differently. There's a shift, and I can't put my finger on it necessarily, but there definitely is a shift. And so, and once again, here we are. Heineke came in due to Carson's finger injury, but once he came in, there was a shift. Not being me, but Brissett could be that shift. We just don't know. And I told you, and I'm going to continue to say it, keep figuring the pieces out until they mesh. And right now, we're still like a kid trying to put that puzzle together. The edges are set, and sometimes the edges aren't set, where you can start working on the interior part of the puzzle. We almost have to take a brand new puzzle out of the box and just lay it on the table and start putting it back together again. That's what it seems like.
I'm talking about taking scissors and cutting pieces and just jamming them in there at this point, man. Because the problem with the puzzle, no, it definitely won't. But the problem with the puzzle is we all talked about this offensive line. You can only do so much. So if Rivera is being true and talking about making other changes at offensive line and putting in Larson, you know, okay, you change your center out. If we don't have Sadiq Charles this week, who's going to be playing left guard? It's going to be Stromberg. You know, there's just so many things there. And to me, this is where coaching is a disconnect, where you have got to put your guys in better situations. You know, you now have journeymen inside there, not just in other positions, but in key positions up front. Then do a better job scheming and go back to a different game plan. Throw what you want to do out the freaking window and then maybe change it up and try something else. Because Scott Turner was calling a ton of offensive plays last year. And Ron said, hey, we got to change it up and run the damn ball. Maybe do that this week. I get that the Eagles are first in run defense. So this might not be the week to do it.
Hey,
They've
you never know, though.
24 sacks this season, but you know, the Eagles are first in run defense with just under 63 yards. They're 18th in passing. But maybe call some screens like you did against the Broncos, because you know those Eagles defensive linemen are going to be coming after Sam or maybe Jacoby or whoever else is in there.
Yeah, because
we didn't call a screen till the third quarter, man.
Yeah, they know they can get that bonus check against us.
I mean, each team has been doubling their sack total as they come up against us. If the Eagles end up with 24 sacks this week, there is zero chance that Sam's going to be in that game.
Well, like you said, a mysterious injury will come about, like Dax Milan and Jamison Crowder. I mean, that's just how it'll happen, mysteriously.
The Eagles are banged up. Jalen is human. To me, it's like that scene in Rocky where Drago starts bleeding and they're talking to him in his corner saying he's human, he's human. Jalen's throwing picks and he's got a banged up leg. They're talking about him playing with a brace this week. That brace is going to slow him down. What are your keys for us to hopefully leave FedEx with a win for the first time since week 1.
Better linebacker play. And don't get beat with the deep ball. If it means keeping those guys 10 yards in front of you, so be it, but don't get beat with the deep ball. We've been in these games except for big plays, and big plays have taken us out of the game. So if better linebacker play, and I'm wondering, is Barton going to be okay, or what's going on with him? I haven't heard the injury report comes out tomorrow, correct?
Well, no, it's out today, and he did not practice. It's a high ankle sprain. He got an MRI. We don't know what the results of the MRI are, but I
don't look for him to be back, but he'll be back.
No, and it's just with a high ankle sprain, going against a running back like Swift, being able to break his ankles at any point in time, to me, he's more of a liability. So which Jamin Davis are we going to see? Are we going to see the Jamin Davis that got burned by Saquon Barkley in the flat? Or is it going to be the Jamin Davis that picked that ball off against Bijan when he was covering? And going back to the consistently inconsistent of this team. I just don't know which Commanders team is going to show up. I frankly think that I'm the jinx because every time I pick us to win, we lose. So I don't know what's happening at this point because these guys, you just want to bang your head against the wall like Farrat did and he got knocked out that game because they just frustrate you so much because we know the potential they have. They're just not putting it together for not even 4 quarters, not even a half at this point.
Man, the only thing we can do is just go ahead and get this Sunday over with. That's what we can do. We can talk to it blue in the face, but the fact of the matter is a football game will be played Sunday, whether our best guys are on the field or our not so best guys on the field, if you will. So let's get this thing going, man. That's what it boils down to, and you can't sugarcoat it. It is going to be another body bag game, or we're going to have our manhood restored.
I hear you, man. And to me, if we want to win this game, we got to be better on 3rd down.
Okay.
I mean, we're 29% on 3rd down. Their average 3rd down was 9 yards last week. We got to get to 3rd and manageable again. And I'm just going back to, Sam getting rid of that ball and taking the incomplete versus the sack. Bieniemy, instead of 2nd and 2, maybe call a run instead of that pass because you're having a problem because it's the same Eagles defense that we faced just a couple weeks ago with those same players, Jalen Carter and all the other guys coming. Fletcher Cox, those guys ate last time against us. You know what they like to do. Change, maybe for a change, let us dictate versus being dictated to. And maybe if we do that, we can leave Sunday with a dub. But for you, who's your don't sleep player, energy player of the week? Who's got to have that game for us to make sure we get that win?
Oh, man. So it starts and it ends with the quarterback, man. Sam's has to do better. And I said that before, but he just does. I can't put it on anybody else. If Sam does well, everyone else will do well. We go how Sam goes.
I hear you. And I'm not putting it all on him. I'm going to say it's got to be my front 3. It's got to be Nick Gates. It's got to be Stromberg if he's in there. And it's got to be Sam Cosmi. Because we know the Eagles' interior pressure is just going to be ridiculous. And I need those guys to give him a little bit of time. Because I don't know if Bieniemy at this point is going to adjust. But those guys can still give him a little more time than he's gotten lately. Or else Sunday's potentially going to be hell. But one thing I do know is I'm saving you a cheesesteak. So make sure you stop on by.
I got you. I'll be there. I will definitely be there with shorts on in October. Degrees. The shorts on in October. Love to hear that. Love to see that. Love to feel that. hopefully the sun can shine on our Commanders and have us victorious against the Eagles later this week. So I hear the music playing in the background. Thank you guys for riding with us. We'll see you on Tuesday, next Tuesday. You guys rep it hard or don't rep it at all. Tailgate Ted, Rally Captain. We'll see you next week. Peace.